Hi everyone! I'm happy to welcome you to the hollylolly channel. Look at this stunningly beautiful tree behind me. Spring is in full bloom here in Japan. To be honest, I don't know when this video will be released, but I can see that you're really interested in everyday life in Japan. So, I decided to show you more of it again. This might not be just one day, but rather a selection of moments from several days. Interesting bits of where I go and what I do. Right now, I want to head to a disadvantaged area of Japan. I want to see how it compares to disadvantaged areas in other countries. Japan is unique to me and doesn't feel like any other place in the world, so I'm really curious to see how people live in such a neighborhood here. Let's see what surprises Japan has for us today. It took me a long time to gather the courage to visit a place you won't find on maps, even though it's right in the heart of Tokyo. There are many rumors and mysteries about it. At one point, the government did everything it could to make sure this area was talked about as little as possible. This place is called Sanya. Sanya is located between the Taito and Arakawa wards. Many years ago, the authorities divided the area into several new districts to erase associations with poverty and homelessness. Historically, people from lower castes lived here, such as butchers, leather workers, and other craftsmen who were not always accepted by society. Later, the area became a refuge for the homeless and for retirees living on the edge of poverty. Today, Sanya is a mix of old dormitories, cheap hostels for tourists, and places where you can see a different side of Tokyo. When I arrived here, I was honestly surprised. There's a lot of information online saying that you shouldn't come here alone, that it's unsafe, and so on. But to me, it didn't feel dangerous at all. At first, I wasn't even sure if this was the place I had read so much about. It looked like a quiet residential area with old houses. There are very few konbini, which you normally see on every corner in Tokyo. There's no entertainment, but the most important thing is that it's calm, quiet, and peaceful. Yes, many buildings are indeed in poor condition, and sometimes you see trash on the streets, but I expected there to be much more. At first, I didn't even notice any homeless people and thought maybe everything I had read online was untrue. But as I was getting ready to leave, I saw a small area fenced off with a warning sign saying entry was prohibited. There were many garbage bags inside. As I came closer, I saw that homeless people were indeed living there. They had set up their own living space and fenced themselves off from the world. It's important to note that there was absolutely no feeling of danger. Children were playing nearby, there are playgrounds, and I never felt threatened in any way. The homeless people I saw were elderly and looked neat and clean. I also noticed some unusual vending machines in the area where you can pay 1,000 yen and win a random prize. I've seen these types of machines in other places too. Of course, most of the time you win something small, but the process itself is fun. Another thing that surprised me was the narrow gaps between the houses. Sometimes they're so tight that a person physically can't squeeze through. But such dense construction is typical throughout Tokyo. All in all, this was a real discovery for me. I expected chaos and danger, but instead found a peaceful and civilized neighborhood, just not as perfect as other parts of Tokyo. Let me know in the comments if you've heard of this place before. If so, what exactly have you heard? I'd really love to read about it. I found a very interesting vending machine. It turns out it's a newspaper vending machine. You can buy one and read the latest news. So we've just visited Sanya, a place that's basically not even on the map because it's a disadvantaged area. People don't talk about it much, and it's not easy to find. I've talked about this area before, but I hadn't been there myself, and to be honest, I was a little scared. But now, after visiting, all my doubts and fears have disappeared. When I watched other videos on YouTube, I often imagined that even if everything looked neat, there would still be homeless people lying around everywhere, that they'd have their own space, and that walking around there would feel scary and unpleasant. But that's not the case in Japan. I actually couldn't find any people who had lost their homes. I kept walking around, wondering where they might be staying, and probably after, I'm not afraid to say, 3 or 4 hours of thoroughly walking through the entire neighborhood, we finally came across that spot. Maybe I still haven't found everything. Maybe there are more of them somewhere else. Of course, I could have taken my camera or phone and gone in there to film it for some views, but I didn't. Why not? Because for me, this is just a video, but for the people living there, it's their life, their space, and, I'm not afraid to say, their home. They had carefully fenced off their territory. As I walked by, I just peeked in quietly and saw how tidy it was, despite the conditions these people were living in. I was afraid to disturb them because I'm a foreigner who would basically be intruding on their space, which is already so small, and they're just trying to live there. Despite everything, they don't seem to lose hope. I saw people playing chess there. I also wanted to tell you a story. While we were walking around, one man looked at me quite suspiciously. I was just walking by, not going anywhere specific, and he gave me a look, a bit distrustful, and I think he assumed I was trying to look for something. I allowed myself to assume that he was thinking something negative about me. As I was crossing the road, trying to figure out where to go next, he went on his way. Then he came back, crossed the road, and bowed to a car just because it let him pass. And as he passed by me, he bowed to me too, as if saying hello. That surprised me so much, and I smiled and greeted him in return. But you know, I get the feeling, though I can't be sure, that in some other countries, people who are homeless wouldn't behave this politely. And that man, who I thought looked at me aggressively, actually showed politeness and respect. And I even felt a bit ashamed for having thought something bad about him. Also, right next to the place where the homeless people live, there's a temple and a kindergarten. There are lots of children there. Mothers ride their bikes calmly, and kids play football. I can't say that this is a neighborhood only for homeless people, or that there are a lot of them, or that the area is truly troubled. But I'll be honest, I wasn't there at night. I didn't stay until late, but what I saw during the day really surprised me, and in a good way. What do you think about this? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Japan never stops surprising me, even after more than 3 years of living here. And it's not always about new places. Sometimes it's just little things. For example, there were some repair works in our building, and I wouldn't even have known about them if I hadn't accidentally seen the notice. It feels like there's an ocean ahead, but it's not the ocean, it's the rooftop. By the way, let me show you how renovations are handled. When an apartment is being renovated, there's a notice listing the dates when noisy work will take place. And they even apologize for it. The notice also includes information about the specific apartment. And even with all that, I barely heard anything, just a hammer a couple of times. I almost never see road repairs happening during the day in Japan. All such work usually takes place at night, so it doesn't disturb people during the day, cause traffic, or slow things down. Besides that, to avoid disturbing people who live near construction or road work, they always set up sound meters to make sure the noise level isn't too high. Everything is done with maximum care and respect for others. Now I want to tell you about some strange and contradictory things I've come across in daily life in Japan. You've probably heard that Tokyo has a lot of animal cafes. They really can bring a lot of positive emotions, especially if you can't have a pet. In Japan, owning a pet is a whole quest in itself. So, the idea that you can just walk in, grab a coffee, and spend time with cute animals is very Japanese. For example, my kids love the Mini Pig Cafe, and we've gone back there more than once. But recently, I visited an owl cafe in the Ginza area. On the one hand, it was incredibly cool. You can interact with the owls, touch them, but on the other hand, I felt really sorry for them. Because owls are nocturnal birds, and here they are, entertaining visitors during the day. The birds were clearly tired. I'm sure they're well taken care of in Japan. They're fed, monitored for health, and kept in comfort. But still, business is business, and they don't get proper sleep. Another thing that always confuses me is the pet shop windows. In Tokyo, you can often see lonely puppies behind glass, just sitting in a small box, no toys, no space to run around, and something inside you tightens. You just really want someone to take that puppy home as soon as possible, to warmth, love, and freedom. The next thing that gives me mixed feelings is garbage sorting and how products are packaged. Japan has such a strict waste sorting system that you simply can't throw things away whenever you want. For example, we store garbage bags right in our kitchen. You can only take them out on specific days, and if you miss that day even once, the consequences can be unpleasant. If it's so strict, then why complicate life even more? Here, every steak is sold in a separate plastic container, sometimes even with a plastic flower inside. It looks fancy, but it seems like it could be done without. Or take fruits, for example. Each apple, each melon is individually packaged. Then you end up with 3 bags of plastic and sit there wondering how to sort it all properly and wait for the right collection day. Shopping in Japan isn't always a joy. Asian and European sizing charts are different, and finding pants or a skirt in Japan can be genuinely difficult, even if you're not tall, like me. Too tight in the hips, too loose at the waist. Personally, Shein saves me. This isn't an ad, just sharing a life hack. So, I got my Shein delivery. You know, it's always like playing the lottery. You might get something really great, whether it's clothes or other items, or you might get something totally low quality. Anyway, let's take a look. Here are my 2 packages. Each probably weighs about 20 kilograms. And in our tiny Japanese apartment, there's just a narrow walkway left. I'm about to start unpacking. Shipping to Japan is fast, only 3 to 5 business days. You can try everything on, and if it doesn't fit, return it. So online shopping is my main way of updating my wardrobe. Sometimes I catch myself thinking that choosing to live in Japan also means choosing to live with the constant possibility of unexpected events. And I'm talking about natural disasters. Japan is a super safe country. You can walk the streets at night without fearing for your life, but at the same time, you're living in a region where earthquakes and tsunamis are part of reality. For example, when walking in Kamakura or on Odaiba Island, we've seen warning signs about possible tsunamis more than once. We're in Kamakura right now, and here's a little shop. They sell baked goods, snacks, sweets, and the shopkeeper even takes off her shoes before stepping inside. Amazing! Kamakura is an ancient capital of Japan, and although it's now a small coastal town, it's very popular with tourists. You can see a giant bronze Buddha statue here, stroll through streets with atmospheric shops, and enjoy ocean views. It's a very calm and cozy place, though windy, and it's perfect for a one-day trip from Tokyo. Even in the most disciplined country in the world, there are small tricks. Here's one of them. If you don't want promotional materials stuffed into your mailbox, you stick on a special label like this one. But to be honest, it doesn't help that much. We put one on ours, and it reduced the amount of advertising by about 1/3. But they still keep putting things in. Let me share something with you that many foreigners in Japan don't even realize. You can be happily taking photos with what you think is cherry blossom, admiring its beauty, and not even suspect that it's not actually Sakura. There are a huge number of flowering trees in Japan, and telling real Sakura apart from peach or plum trees isn't easy. Personally, I still get confused. They all bloom around the same time. They're all beautiful in their own way, but here's how you can try to tell them apart. Plum blossoms have round petals. The flowers bloom individually, without any leaves. Peach blossoms have pointed petals. The flowers usually appear in pairs, along with the leaves. Sakura petals have a distinctive notched tip. There are usually 5 petals, and they grow in fluffy clusters. Leaves may appear with the flowers or just after, depending on the variety. Sakura season really is one of the best times to visit Japan, but it's important to be ready for reality. You often imagine Sakura as it's shown in anime or on postcards, bright, vivid pink, almost magical. Wow, look how beautiful the Sakura looks! How about this one? In reality, the most common type of sakura in Japan is white. It's still very beautiful, but it might not be exactly what you expected, especially if you're seeing it in person for the first time. One of the most popular places to view sakura is the Nakamaguro area, where the trees line the canal. For Japanese people, it's one of the favorite ways to spend time. As soon as it gets a little warmer, people head to the parks with baskets and drinks. They have picnics under the trees, talk, and enjoy the moment. For example, Ueno Park park becomes completely packed with people during the Sakura season. People start reserving spots under the trees from early in the morning to make sure they get a cozy place right beneath the blossoms. So most likely, wherever Sakura is blooming, there will be huge crowds. Getting a photo without people in the background becomes quite a challenge. I wanted to say that we went to Ueno Park on a weekday, and just look at how many people were there. Imagine what it's like on the weekend. But in a way, that's part of the charm. In Japanese culture, Sakura holds a special place, so you see it represented everywhere. Cherry blossom installations appear on the streets, and seasonal items pop up in stores. Drinks, desserts, pastries, chips, everything with Sakura flavor or scent, or at least Sakura-themed packaging. You think I'm in a forest? No, my husband says no one will believe that I'm actually right in the center of Tokyo, specifically at the Imperial Palace. I brought you here to show you how beautiful it is. This year, everything is blooming a little late, but the weather keeps changing. It's just so beautiful here. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a very pretty bush. I don't know its name, unfortunately, but it's stunning. Look, Japan really over-promotes Sakura. Yes, Sakura is insanely beautiful. Really. But just look at all the other beautiful blooming plants around. And this is all right inside the Imperial Palace. Honestly, I'd come here just for them. It's not my first time here this year. It's really hard to predict when exactly all this beauty will bloom, because 2 years ago, the bushes bloomed at the end of March. Now it's mid-April, and they're just starting to open up. It's breathtaking, but you have to try to guess the timing. In the subway, you can even order something like a loaf-shaped bun, pay for it, and your items will be placed in a designated locker. And of course, between vlog shoots, our family never forgets to enjoy some good food. Very often, our go-to spots in Tokyo are conveyor belt sushi restaurants. I recommend visiting one at least once. There are different chains of these restaurants all over Japan, and each one has its own unique features. So we dropped by one in between errands. It's a conveyor belt sushi chain, and at first glance, it may seem like just sushi and a conveyor belt, basically the same everywhere. But no, I've noticed some interesting differences. Just look. There are things here I haven't seen in other sushi bars or restaurants. You add sushi to your order and immediately see the total cost. For some people, that might actually be a deterrent. In other places, you order without knowing exactly how much you've eaten. But here, you can clearly see how much you're spending. You keep adding sushi, and you see the amount you'll have to pay. I think that's good for the customer, but maybe not so great for the restaurant, because otherwise, people might order more. At least that's how it seems to me. And here's another feature, something I personally appreciate. I'll show you now. For example, I don't eat rice, and at this restaurant, you can choose the amount of rice with your sushi. You can pick either a regular portion or a half portion. It's perfect for those who don't want to eat a lot of rice and prefer the fish on top. I find it very convenient. We stopped by Kura Sushi, and I wanted to show you another feature. There's a slot where you drop your plates after eating. When we go out to eat with a big family, it's like a tower of plates on the table. So it's really cool that you can just drop them in. And there's also a screen offering a game you can play. You can win a prize, maybe a small ring or a capsule with the Kura Sushi logo. Of course, there's no guarantee you'll win. 1 out of 3 tries results in a prize. But it costs 10 yen to play. Honestly, the food looked more appetizing in the pictures. Guys, I don't know about you, but for us, sauce makes all the difference. That's why we brought our own sauce with us. It makes the food, especially the sushi, incredibly tasty. Because in my opinion, one of the main problems with many places is the lack of the specific sauce you love. We used a translation app to order something, thinking it was fish, but it turned out to be dessert. Here it says, we've had 9 plates. Every 5 plates give you a chance to play the game. After watching a short animation, a capsule drops from the top. One of the challenges almost all foreigners face in Japan is the lack of familiar products. It's especially noticeable when it comes to dairy. Or here's some shock content. It's almost impossible to find Coca-Cola here. You rarely see it on store shelves. But Pepsi is everywhere. As for grains, like buckwheat, you'll only find them in stores that sell foreign products. But Japanese people make soba, a traditional noodle made from buckwheat flour. So technically, buckwheat does exist here, just in noodle form. Recently, I went to Saitama. It's a prefecture just outside of Tokyo. I went into a local place specifically to eat Japanese soba. It's cold noodles that you dip into hot curry. By the way, Saitama is a popular place for foreigners to live. It's much quieter than central Tokyo, but still very convenient, and the rent is more affordable. A must-visit place for any tourist in Tokyo is the world-famous Shibuya crossing. Every day, an average of 300,000 to 500,000 people cross there. And during rush hour, up to 3,000 people cross at a single green light. It really is a spectacular sight, especially if you view it from above. We decided to go up to the observation deck on the 8th floor of the Magnet building. The entrance fee is 1,800 yen per person, which is about $11 to $12. I imagined a large open space with a comfortable area where you could sit, relax, and enjoy the view for a while. And the view is definitely impressive, but it turned out the observation deck is just a small section of the rooftop. There were a lot of people and very little space, so it wasn't quite the kind of place where you'd want to spend a lot of time. There's also another way to view the crossing, from the second floor of a nearby building. There's a Starbucks with panoramic windows. But personally, I've never been inside, because the line is crazy every single day. I can't even imagine how long you'd have to wait to get a seat by the window. Friends, thank you so much for watching until the end. Be sure to leave a comment and let me know what surprised you the most. Like and don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day and see you in the next videos.